Hey, truth be told, it's Captain Ron with Tony Sweet here. The whole world is upside down, as we know, from the coronavirus, as well as all the other stuff going on. And we're not here on a Friday. We're here on a Monday night, Tony. It's a unique day. Right. It's also going to be a unique show. This one's a little bit different than we normally do, but we've heard of a new film coming out that's a sci-fi parody film that's coming out in a couple of weeks. And we thought it'd be fun to have the producer, director, and writer on the show and talk about this new special kind of a trek, the movie Unbelievable. Please welcome to the show Angelique Fawcett and her husband, Stephen Fawcett. We would normally have a live studio audience, but because of the COVID-19 virus, they're not here, and Tony has to fake that in.
I'm sure they hate to hear the applause. You know, everybody hates applause. Well, welcome to Truth Be Told.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Of course. Well,
certainly. Tony and I got a chance to see the film. This is Tony's kind of humor, let me tell you. It's right. It's right. He's been cracking me up today. Why don't we start?
We're going to have 50% that love it and 50% that absolutely hate it.
Right. Well, it's definitely a unique. Yeah, but it's got a lot of interesting elements, which we'll cover. One of them being we have. What is it? Over 40 people from the Star Trek universe are in this film?
Yes. We have over 40 stars, including our composer. And additionally, his name is Gerald Freed. He's the last living composer of original Star Trek. And then we also have Tommy Morgan, who was in our orchestra, who he played in the Star Trek episode Spectre of the Gun. And he's one of our harmonica players for the film. So we have all of these Star Trek stars, a lot of the faces that you grew up with, and they're all in this one film. And it's actually my husband's idea. He just asked me to produce it, and I said yes.
Let's start there.
Right. This finally said yes.
This didn't happen 2 weeks ago, right? This went back a while, Steve. When did you come up with this?
2 weeks. I wish it was 2 weeks.
Yeah, I wish it was 2 weeks. I wrote this, the original script, I wrote back in college in 1977.
Oh, wow.
So it's actually been going on
a long
since
time.
Then. But we started producing it in 2012 and pre-production in 2012. And we started principal photography in May of 2013.
Wow, it's no easy feat to make a movie, huh, Tony?
Oh, so, not at all.
1977, you start this thing. That's before. Let's mention another person in this film. Snoop Dogg is in this movie.
Yeah.
Where was Snoop in 1977? This couldn't have even been in your brain. How many rewrites did you have?
It's too innumerable to count.
I think the behind the scenes for this film could be as good as the film.
Right. Oh, yes.
Yeah. We've always said we know 1,000 ways how not to make a movie now.
And we have so much trivia and so many stories.
Well, let's hear how many times did you rewrite this film?
Oh, I would easily say 100 times.
Wow.
It's you write, and then once you're filming, you have sides. You have like daily sides that's what you're going to shoot on that day. So a lot of times the actors would be hired and they'll say, well, I don't want to say this. Could I say that? Or could I say it this way? And okay, fine. Let's just, do it a few times, one with the script, one, kind of ad lib. And a lot of times the ad libs were better than what I had written. So we just used the ad lib.
So you wrote the thing 100 times and then didn't even use it. All right.
That's the life of a writer.
Wow.
And we wrote roles in. He wrote roles in for actors who wanted to get in.
Oh, well, that's interesting because this is such a unique aspect of your film. I mean, that's a really unique thing that you have got so many people from the same community to all be in the same film. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment itself.
Being able to create this, in 1977, though, with the technology we have today, I mean, I'm sure the technology is much better than it would have been back then, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just, it was one of those things where I just wrote it to write it, and
To get it
I
out of
thought
your head.
maybe I would do it, well into the future sometime. And when I dug it out, and I said, this is funny. I said maybe I could do this, and so we started. I was going to do it just with my own money, because do it to do it. I talked with a producer who I knew at the time, and he said, if you're going to put your money into this, you might as well just stand over a toilet and just put the money in, because you've got to have actors that people have heard of. Otherwise, no one's going to go see it.
Right.
So I said, all right. So we started, and then the budget started increasing and increasing, and we ended up with a budget of right at $4 million, and
Wow.
had a number of investors that believed in us, and thankfully they did. And but it was a process.
Yes, it was.
definitely-
What's also fascinating about this, and to hear that you wrote this in 77, in 1977, I think there was only the original series at that point, right?
Oh yeah.
And since
Yeah.
that time, there's been all these other offshoot series that were 7 years each. Was there 5 spin-off?
Well, all
series?
through
Yeah.
the 80s, there
Five.
was tons of
Well, then now
Star
they've
Wars.
got the new one, Discovery.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And the
Yes.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to draw from now. I mean, that
Yeah.
universe has just expanded. So that's
Yeah.
unique that you wrote this with before all this other stuff happened.
Yeah, well, I was a Star Trek fan right from the get-go. I'm old enough to have remembered when it first aired on NBC back in '66, and I was hooked. Back then, I was 10 years old, and it was ahead of its time. It was exciting. It was unlike anything that was on network TV at that time, and probably ever since. So I was a Star Trek fan right from the start.
Now, did you guys like set out to get all these actors from this, or did you get one and start building? Like, how does that happen?
Well, that's pretty much how it went. Steve, as he said, he first had a certain set of actors, but it came down to, we got one of the Star Trek actors, and this particular actor, Michael Dorn, was probably used to getting more serious scripts. So when we handed him this script, he was like, "Are you serious? Is this real?" and we're like, "Yes." And he was thinking it was serious, but it was a comedy. And then he got it, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I'll do this." And then it kind of rolled into something from there. He introduced us to Marina Sirtis, and then we started, as new filmmakers in the industry. Both Steve and I come from corporate America, but as new filmmakers in the industry, a lot of people, people didn't know us. So when we picked up the phone and called a manager or agent, they were like, "Who the heck are you, and why are you calling us?" And we're like, "Okay, well, we'll go to the conventions and we'll meet actors." So we started going to the conventions, and we took our script with us, and we presented to actors at the conventions and said, "Hey, do you want to do our film?" And they read the script and said yes. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And I think we were just very fortunate. We treat people really well on set, down from our PAs up to our actors, and everyone is equally the same. We love them all and treat them all with the same respect. And I think the word got out, at least that's what we were told. And we serve really good food.
Yeah.
There's the key.
We're not serving fast food.
I
We're
was gonna
serving
say,
chicken and salmon and good things that people
Craft
love.
service goes a long way. That's right. Tony and I would have worked
tell
on
you.
that.
Right.
You treat people right, and things go well. And by the end of this film, we were really fortunate because some Star Trek stars starting asking us if they could be in the film. And so that was a really wonderful
Wow.
thing. And the story he was telling me to tell you about was Michael Madsen. We were filming some Star Trek stars, 6 of them, at this estate in Malibu, and we were kind of loud. And I already knew Michael Madsen lived next door, and I hadn't met him, and I was like, "Oh shoot, he's gonna be mad." And then I see this glooming figure looking over a balcony, and it's him, and I was like, "Oh, he's gonna come over here create some damage. I mean, he's Kill Bill situation. But he didn't. The next day I got a call from the homeowner that he's a Star Trek fan and he wanted to get in the film. And so that's how that happened. And then when he got on set, Steve had written a role in for him, President Ben Dover. And
Jesus.
and anyways,
That's the one that cracked up Tony.
Right.
Yeah,
He's
well, you
still
get the
laughing.
joke then, right? So
We all get the
was
joke.
Right.
Yeah, he's a real Star Trek fan. When he saw Nichelle Nichols, he's like, I need a picture, and he started blushing, and it was a really sweet moment. So we have a lot of stories behind this whole
The
production.
thing that we were surprised at is Snoop Dogg is a Star Trek fan.
It's a huge Trekkie.
Now, is that how you got him? Because he's a fan of Star Trek?
No. But we walked into his complex over in Inglewood, and it was all of a sudden these huge murals on the wall with Kirk and Spock and the Enterprise. And
We're like, he couldn't have done this for us. Who the hell are we?
Wow. Like,
we
did you
walked
try to go
in-
after to get him? Was that one of your ideas?
What'd you say?
Was it an idea to bring him into the film, or what sparked that?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we were the plot involves plant aliens invading the Earth and taking over humanity, and we were trying to think who would be the best person to be the head of the plant army.
The
And,
natural fit.
Right.
And so, Snoop's known as a big marijuana enthusiast, and so we just thought, he makes the most sense to be the head of the plant army.
Agreed.
Yes,
They
and
watched
he was
Soul
he was a real sweetheart on set. He came and did his work. Everyone loved it. It was a really nice experience. Really
It'd be fun having him hanging around.
I was
right?
going to say you must have watched Soul Plane.
Yes, I love Soul Plane.
Me
When
too.
he gets so high, he's passed out. I loved it. Yes,
I love
I'm a
that
fan
movie.
of Soul Plane.
Yeah,
Yes.
Awesome. Were you going to say something?
No, that I just, like I said, I love when people kind of spoof off of a hit series and make it to where people can enjoy both sides of it. They can still be fans of the original, but yet laugh along with everybody else, because so many people, I think, especially nowadays, we need something to enjoy and laugh
We're
at.
certainly very
and with.
sensitive
Yeah.
these days,
Right.
aren't we?
So I think, and I'm curious, have you had any backlash from Star Trek fans that have maybe saw the trailer or saying, wait a minute, I'm a fan here, this is not the direction I thought it was going? Have you had that yet?
Well, I think one thing is that we want to let everyone know that, we are Star Trek fans. So
Right.
there's a lot of very high respect for Gene Roddenberry and his creation and the whole Star Trek universe. So this was not done to be injurious to that creation,
Right.
or to make these people feel less about being fans of them, because we're fans of Star Trek.
Yes.
It was done with a lot of love, and it's there. I think that there are going to be some, because Star Trek is almost a religion
It
to
is.
certain people. But then, there are others that are just fans of the series, fans of the actors and what they did, and you might want to tell them about the time that we took those T-shirts too.
Oh yeah, the one time that we were kind of, I don't even know how to say it, scared, was when we went to a Star Trek convention in Las Vegas, and we were so excited. We had our T-shirts ready, 2 different T-shirt styles, and we were so happy to go to the convention and we could show our little, Captain Kirk Stillwood puppet to the fans, and we're so excited. And we had these T-shirts. One T-shirt said "Unbelievable" on it, and the other one stated a line from the film, which I don't know if I can say this out loud,
you
but
can.
I'll just say it. It said, the T-shirt name is "Live Long and Prosper My Ass," which is a line that Jack Donner says in the film, because he's basically saying, I'm older and Paramount never got back to me, live long and prosper my ass. And so we get there and we see tens of thousands of fans. It was a sea of fans. And we're like, oh shoot, they're gonna they're going
this
to
wrong.
attack us when they see this shirt
Right.
because they're going to think that we're stomping on Spock's line. And no, that's not what happened. We ended up selling out of those t-shirts and people wore them back the next year. So, you know, we were very, very excited and grateful. We don't even have any more. I have one that barely fits.
It's a collector's item.
we're just happy they like the stuff because we're fans too. And, you know, we have a lot of Easter eggs. We have dozens of Easter eggs in this film that were specifically placed just for the fans, just for Star Trek people to know. And people like Snoop Dogg, he would get it too, because what Steve didn't tell you, like his room, like his conference room is called the Mothership, and it looks like the bridge of the Star Trek Enterprise.
Oh, wow.
With the captain's chair.
That's pretty cool.
You know,
held a shoot there.
Yeah, so you know, people who are real Star Trek fans, you know, they'll see all the Easter eggs. You know, there's some who are really hidden, but we made it for them.
Now you go ahead. What are you gonna say, Tony?
No, I was going to say, why don't we play the trailer
Yes.
so people can see kind of what we're talking about in case.
Well, I was gonna say she just drops it in there like nothing because nobody's seen this film yet,
Right.
And she's like, "Well, the puppet," and
they're
I think
like,
people are like,
"What
"Wait, what do you
talking
mean
about?"
puppet?"
So that
So,
now we have.
so
a
I think it's
reference.
important to
show it. So now we have a reference to come back to.
Right,
So,
there you
all right.
go.
So here we go.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
In a world where the world is searching the world for someone to save the world, there is only one in the whole world that has this world on a string.
Okay, Charlie, I'm in. What now?
Soon I will take over their planet with my army of plants.
They are the first wave of a massive invasion force headed for this planet at this very moment.
This is a national emergency.
Mr. President, I've got to ask on the phone.
Well, then spray something on the damn thing.
Where did all the people go?
What the hell is happening to us?
I know what'll happen if something goes wrong up there. It'll be the end of the program.
I thought we had 80 more minutes. Oh, that program.
Don't flush till we're over the ocean.
Whoa! 50 years later, and he's still pissed.
Connie!
Oh my gosh! That
Wow.
is hilarious. Oh my gosh!
I think I recognize somebody in that film. I guess Angelique, you're part of the movie, huh?
Oh yes.
Yes.
You're part of the movie too, Stephen. Aren't you a voice of something?
I love how he laughs.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't exactly my call.
I believed in him though.
There's a miniature horse that is Snoop Dogg's sidekick. His name is Captain Buttock Snort.
Oh Jesus!
And we were editing, and I didn't have a celebrity voice yet to do it, so I did the voice of the horse, and I was planning for a number of actors to play that role. I really wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I tried to get Arnold.
Did you really?
Several times, and it just, COVID happened, and it just didn't work. And so I said, just let it go. We'll just let it go out with my voice on it. So, yeah, I am the voice of Captain Buttock Snorts.
So, so how did you make the decision to release this during COVID? Was it because more of a decision saying, "Oh, we should wait till this is over"? Was it always planned to be more online, or was it wanting to go to theaters?
No, we were looking for not a huge theatrical, but a small theatrical run. But when COVID hit, all of the studio content got pushed back.
Right.
It's still being pushed back to this day, and everything is backing up in the queue right now. So the ability for an independent film like ours to be able to get any kind of theatrical space is going to be compromised until probably 2022 right now.
That's terrible. Yeah.
So there's just no way, and a lot of films are now saying, let's just go straight to premium VOD or streaming VOD, and just forego the theater thing. And so that was the decision.
I mean, you did start this in 1977. So what's 2 years? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It's almost like you've got to live a long time to be able to experience this.
Right.
But
so give us one of these fun stories from set. It's got to be a fun set with Snoop running around and all these different actors.
We actually had a great time. Principal photography was great. I mean, we enjoyed that immensely.
Yes.
Post-production was a slog. I mean, it was a real, I think we went through at least 5 post houses to get all of this done the way we wanted it. So
and we had a lot of changes too. And it's challenging another thing that took time since 2012, 2013 is that all of the actors were constantly going to conventions. So our three to 4 leads, because the puppet is an entity in and of itself, we had to wait until they were all available at the same date, same time. So it could be 3 or 4 months until you get them all in the same place. But that was a part of the slog too.
Yeah. And as you were saying about the puppet is from the Chiodo brothers, who did Team America World Police.
It looks like that when you see the trailer, doesn't it seem like that to you, Tony?
Yeah.
We actually have a number of people that have written to say, is this the sequel to Team America? And they've always wanted a sequel to Team America. And I remember Trey Parker saying something to the effect, "I'll never do another puppet movie ever again." And I didn't understand that until we did one. And
our puppeteers were awesome though. It's just, when you're on set, there's fun to be had, but you got to work, because as an independent film company, and you only raise $4 million, and $4 million may sound like a lot, but it's not if you want a quality crew.
Right.
The crew is very important. You have to get the right people, who have the skills to get the shots you need. And so, we really had to punch it. But I think the puppeteers were actually some of our funniest parts. A lot of our
no
bloopers
question about it. Yeah, and isn't it? He's sort of the lead character, pretty much, of the film.
Is.
So
yeah.
I mean, it's starring a puppet.
Evan Carlson is the voice of the puppet.
Yes.
Is he the same guy that does the puppeteering?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so he's doing that while he's doing that.
They have a puppeteer that controls the actual strings and all that. But then there are 2 guys over offside by where the director sits by Video Village, and they have like a joystick thing, and they're working. One is working the mouth, and the other one is working the eyes.
Oh.
And so the guy that works the mouth can actually do the voice, because he knows exactly when he's going to move that mouth.
Okay. That makes sense.
So that's why you don't have to.
Because it does look like pretty good. I mean, that's why I was asking. I wonder if it's the same guy.
Right.
So that's coming off live. He's recording that live right when he's doing it. Huh?
Yes, he's acting. And some of the tougher shots. We have a couple of photos from set where, they're on a balcony and their strings are 30, 40 feet, and they're working him all the way from the balcony down. And we basically one time tell a crazy story.
Please do.
Which was the only time I'd say we ever had extra time. We had some extra time, so we filmed this music video of the puppet. And we were just really kidding around because we had the extra time to do it. But the puppeteers were way, way up, and the puppet is just flying through the air, and he's singing a very well-known song. And we wish that we could share that, but we have to get the rights to that song first. But it's a very funny, well-known song that Steve rewrote the words to. So I can't wait till we get the rights and we are able to release. I can tell them?
Yeah, of course.
My husband says I can tell. Okay. You guys know the song Rocket Man from Elton John?
Of course.
Well, that's
Okay, well,
also
everyone-
famously done by William Shatner.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Steve, just before we came on set, so we didn't know if we were going to have time to do it or not. So we ended up playing around and doing it. He rewrote Rocket Man and called it Puppet Man. And so the puppet is Puppet Man, and he's talking about how he got out of his box at 6 a.m. He has a call time.
Wow.
He has to do all this stuff. And then he's just so cute. It's just
That's
adorable.
actually really funny to me.
Yeah, it's a funny video.
Yeah.
And
So he's standing there. He says, "Puppet Man, twisting in the wind out here alone." So he's it's all cut to the song. The whole melody plays. So we would have to get the melody rights for the song before we can play it publicly.
Did you let your actors was most of this all scripted, or did you let them ad lib it all? Because I can't imagine Snoop. I mean, I can imagine he threw some ad libs in there somewhere.
He did, and some of them we had to cut out.
I'm sure.
Because we wouldn't be able to keep our PG-13 rating.
Right.
They were funny though.
They were funny,
bet.
yeah. They were
I'm
funny.
sure.
He gave us a few lines in the boxing match with the puppet that we wouldn't be able to repeat here.
Yeah, him fighting the puppet was quite funny. He was serious when he was fighting that puppet. It was
I'm
real, really real.
you were cracking up through that whole thing.
Oh no, yeah. I mean,
that's the
that was
part you were-
hilarious.
yeah.
I mean, but actually, another thing I was going to ask you that because sometimes I'll say something that's funny to me, and I'm sure you wrote down stuff that when you saw it on screen or somebody else was like, I don't know if that's right for this scene. How many times did you have to rewrite on for certain scenes? Did you even sometimes go, it sounded funny in my head, but it wasn't quite.
Sometimes it's extemporaneous. You have to kind of roll with it.
Right.
I mean, there was a time where an actress came up to me and she said someone had kind of taken her line or used her line. And she says that for me to go up there and say the same line, it would be foolish. And so I sat there for a second and I said, okay, tell them this. And so she ran up and said that line. So it's sometimes you just have to roll with it. But most of the changes occurred in post.
Okay.
Because you get into editing and then you say, okay, that's just not working. That's got to go.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a scene with Angelique and Manu and Piriani and it's just not. It was great, but it wasn't advancing the storyline. And so in order for us to make the thing a little tighter, move the story along, we ended up having to delete the scene. But we'll obviously be playing that, on the DVD and that sort of thing. But you have to make sacrifices to get the thing to
I'm sure
to the finish line.
You're like, that was my best line, and they cut it.
They had all these guys.
Actually, that scene, I asked to cut it because, even as a producer, I have to switch off from being an actress to producer.
I'm sure,
if it's making the movie too long, then you got to cut it, regardless. And there's a couple scenes we had to cut. One scene we had to cut because there was no Star Trek actor in that scene, and we had made a pact to have a Star Trek actor in every scene.
I was going to say, of the about 40 you said, was there anybody that you actually had to cut out completely? Like,
Not completely.
Not
Can you imagine
no,
that?
we didn't come out completely, but we wanted to.
Yeah, go ahead and tell us the names. No, I'm just kidding.
No, we'll keep that one to the grave.
Okay.
But having these Star Trek actors there, did they come up with stuff that was Star Trek related while you were sitting there on set?
Yeah. There was. I can think of one line that Chase did.
What did Chase do?
Chase is playing a Russian pilot, and she had said, it would be futile. The reference to the Borg, and I hadn't written that into the script, and she just said it, and it was great, and so we loved it. So, but there's all sorts of things in there that were done. Yes, a lot was ad lib, but I usually did was I would say, look, I would like you to do one take at least from the script, and then any other takes we can go and you can just roll with it. And more often than not, their ad lib lines were better than the scripted lines, so we went with that.
So you could
His scripted lines were really good too. At least I liked him, and I really liked him as the horse. I don't know if you guys get the reference. I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan, but
people that are sitting here that obviously no one's seen this film. The horse, the puppet, they're going, what the heck is going on with this? Right. Snoop Dogg. Yeah. I mean, how do you go to a pitch meeting and say, here's the idea? A horse, a puppet, Snoop Dogg. How do you pitch that?
It's just, it happened. I guess it's just fate. You were talking about COVID. I think it was just the right time.
Yeah.
We had no idea it would be the right time, but our distributor came to us during COVID, and she was very excited. Her name is Linda Nelson from Indie Rights, and her partner, Michael Madison, and they believed in us. And there's so much to be said about that. When you're independent filmmakers and someone actually believes in you. She, cared about our film, took us to the first virtual Cannes film market to present our film to international buyers. And it just went on from there. And, she's just ready to go and knows what to do. And, I think it was just fate, because when you work on a film for 8 years and then you go through all of the rigmarole that you have to go through, all the fun stuff, but all the rigmarole, and it doesn't come out until a certain time, it's meant to come out now.
Right.
8 years, 100 rewrites. What's next? Are you going to do a sequel? What's the story?
No sequel.
She's like, no.
He makes jokes, but we're not doing a sequel.
No?
Trust me.
I tell everybody that the sequel will be called Inconceivable. Because it's inconceivable to me that I would do it.
And me too.
What's your plan for next? Are you going to do a different kind of movie now that you're into this, or what's the story?
Oh, yes. To start with a comedy and a parody. I mean, normally when people do their first feature film, it's usually like a horror movie or a drama.
Right.
They don't try and tackle.
Comedy's not easy. Comedy's very hard to get right.
And and everyone has their own sense of what's funny and what isn't. And
like, for example, Tony Sweet is not. Let's just get that out there.
Hey, my mom said I was.
Oh, well, all right. Outside of that.
We probably did one of the tougher things that you could do coming out of the gate in Hollywood, we do plan on doing a drama next.
Oh, great!
And that will hopefully
with puppets.
No more puppets.
That's it. No horses, no puppets, no Snoop, nothing.
Yeah. No, we actually own the puppet. We bought the puppet, but we haven't collected the puppet. It's still sitting over there.
We were kind of expecting to see him over there today.
We're gonna have him at the premiere.
Great.
On August 1.
He kind of has to stay in his little dark closet because his skin is like, it's like this interesting foam-esque skin that it deteriorates if it gets dry. So they have to smooth it out, make it nice. They have to put his makeup back on. They curl his hair, and he has a whole glam team on set. I'm not even kidding. I have pictures to prove this.
For a second, I thought you was talking about Ron, but now I know you're talking about the
Wow.
Yeah, he'll be ready for the showing though. And
That's
we'll have
great.
fun
Oh,
with
good.
it.
Yeah, he's the highlight of the film, I would argue.
Yeah.
So August
everybody
1st
came to us and said, "I want a scene with the puppet,"
Yeah.
and so I had to write the people in, and they wanted to make sure that they had a line or two with the puppet.
I mean, who doesn't?
I mean, that's the fun part. I mean, that would be so interesting for an actor to get to, interact with this.
Now I want to interview the puppet.
Yeah.
And the other thing about the horse was that we had we showed an early cut of the film to some fans, and one lady came up to me. I don't know who she was, but I had made mention of the fact that Kirk wanted his horse in the movie, and because everyone knows that William Shatner is into horses, and so she says, "You didn't have the horse in the movie." I said, "Yeah, I guess you're right. We didn't have the horse in the movie." So when we had the chance to bring the horse in, I just said, let's get one of these little miniature horses and haul it in, and we'll dress it up as one of the Star Trek villains, and his name is Buttock. We call him Buttock because he's supposed to be playing Baylock. Baylock was a famous hideous alien from Star Trek, and so he had a blue head, and so we stuck this blue helmet onto this horse, and called him Buttock, and so. But you have to be a real Star Trek fan to.
Oh, so yeah, you got to be deep to catch those kind of things. But I'm sure folks that know that stuff would love that kind of connection.
Well, a lot of the horse's lines are from the episode that Baylock was presented.
Yeah,
so, I wouldn't be deep enough involved to catch those.
But there's a lot.
But
of
if you do,
out there.
I mean, that's part of the fun. I think if you know that material,
Yeah.
to catch those kind of references is probably a lot of fun.
Have you been going to a lot of these like online Facebook forums where there's thousands of Trekkie fans and getting involved and promoting your movie?
We're getting on social media all the time.
That's great.
We've got a crew that's, I guess, kind of working the Star Trek fan clubs, and
that's great.
Talking to people all over, because Star Trek has got. It's been estimated they have over 30 million Star Trek fans around the world.
I believe it.
So,
we made the film for the Star Trek fans, and talking about the horse, we actually have another rocking horse in the film if you catch it. And that was a little ode to Captain Kirk, William Shatner, because he likes horses so much. But you'd have to really look to find him. There's certain things you have to look to find.
Tony, you're gonna have to watch it again.
Well, I'll give you one. I don't know if you noticed that our Enterprise, what Star Trek would call the Enterprise, we call it the Exit Prize. The Gorn, who's not really the Gorn because we just parodied the Gorn. Right. Ours is called Don Cornelius Jr.
Oh,
I mean, we just
all of the names in the film are something else. I mean, they all have unique names from Snoop on down.
Were you drinking when you came up with these names?
He doesn't drink. He's never had alcohol in his life. We're just weird like this. We think of things in the middle of the night. We're like, let's name them this. Let's do this.
I could see you wake up like, whoa, I got a good one.
Well, that's how I came up with the puppet.
Yes, it is.
I mean, you go.
Well, in the middle of the night, because there's different time. We have different schedules, but at the same schedule, depending. So Steve was staying up super late that night, and I was asleep. It was like 2:30 in the morning or something. And he says, "You know what? I know. Let's make the lead character a puppet." And I'm like, "Yeah." I wake up. He's crazy. I go back to sleep. And it was like either the next morning or the next day. I can't remember. We were at Kyoto Brothers inquiring about him making a puppet for us. And they said yes. And then that rest is history.
Wow.
All right. Well, tell us how, because I know a lot of people are going to be tuning in and saying, where can we get involved? Where can we see it? How do we be a part of any forums that you have? So give us the rundown.
Well, we will be showing the film for the first time, worldwide premiere, on Saturday, August 1st. It will be available to anyone that wants to buy a ticket, and you can find out that through our social media, Facebook link, Instagram link, Twitter link, and we'll be showing it there, and then we're going to have like a little mini virtual convention after that, where we're going to have all the actors, or a majority of the actors, coming through, and we'll be talking about the pre-production, the principal photography, the post-production. We'll show deleted scenes. We'll show other outtakes. We'll be talking to various people on our crew, and then there'll be actor breakout rooms where the actors can take questions from attendees. And then after that, I think soon after, Indie Rights is planning a premiere TVOD release on various platforms. I know Amazon's going to be one of them, but probably Apple Plus and some of the on-demand cable channels.
Cool.
And then it'll go SVOD and AVOD and on down the line.
And then additionally, we actually have a soundtrack. We hired Gerald Fried, who's the last living composer of original Star Trek. He composed our soundtrack when he was 88 years old.
Oh, wow.
And he's 92 right now. And that will be for sale. We have our single up. It's on iTunes and Spotify. It's called After Today. There's a young lady by the name of Emily L. Stanton who wrote, arranged, and performed this song for us. And then Gerald Fried, of course. This is new Gerald Fried music. So it's pretty exciting. He's got so much energy and such a treasure to, I believe, what the Star Trek world is too. The music was everything. And we had a 29 live piece orchestra playing in that
That's
situation.
very cool.
Yeah, Gerald is known for the Star Trek fight music. If anybody knows about that dun 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 dun, that's Gerald Fried's music.
Cool.
And when I was with him, we were talking at his house, and he lived in Santa Fe at the time. I said, "You're gonna have to do that cue, but I need you to change it up a bit so we don't violate Paramount's intellectual property."
Right.
And he said, "Well, are you sure that you think I should do that?" I said, "Yes, absolutely. You're going to do that." And so he did it, changed it up a little bit, but he added a bass harmonica to it, which just made it extremely funny. And it's over the boxing scene for when Snoop Dogg and the Puppet fight it out in a boxing match. And you'll hear that cue. It's very funny.
Again, people are sitting there. Snoop Dogg and the Puppet box it out. What?
Right.
What? Another 2:30 a.m. idea
probably,
right there.
Right.
It probably also will be a little helpful for people to be a little bit on the high side when they get into this film.
Highly recommended.
Yeah, this is Snoop told me in person. He said, "I think this generation's Up in Smoke."
Wow, that's from his to God's ears. His mouth. Well,
yeah, I hope so.
That's good. That would be awesome.
Very nice to us.
Well, thank you guys. We really appreciate you being on the show. That was fun, and we're so used to doing all the UFOs, conspiracies, and all that stuff. So
we're always serious, so it's nice
to just kind of have a nice little break from that and enjoy. I hope everybody out there enjoys this and goes participates on August 1st. And we'll put it up on our links how you guys can participate, and we hope it's a big success for you guys.
Well, thank you very much.
So
thank
nice.
you for
we appreciate
having
it.
us.
Thanks for having us.
You got it.
Take care.
And everybody out there, thank you again. This was an unplanned, pretty much Monday edition, and we love to always bring you new shows, and we hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a comment again, if it's anything negative about, just making sure it's about Ron. And right,
Ouch.
right.
I thought you were the funny guy. What happened?
No, I'm not the funny guy.
Oh.
That's the point. And I was very serious. So make sure you follow us, like us, and go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Go to our iHeartRadio, Apple, all that stuff. Listen to our podcast. There's almost 500 to 600. I've lost count already. And but until next time, I'm Tony Sweet with Captain Ron for Truth Be Told. Take care, guys.